for tonight. All right, so the data set you're seeing on your screen is a Adidas data set. That is sales data set for the Adidas company in the United States of America. So that's what we're going to be using to complete those other charts that we didn't finish last night. So I'm just going to go ahead. The first chart I'm going to be taking this night is called the map chart. The first chart I'm going to be taking this night is called the map chart. So before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and build a do an analysis that I'm going to use to build the map charts. So I'm just going to get my analysis ready. So that's what I'm just trying to do. So I believe everybody should already know the steps in doing this analysis now. So what I want to show in my analysis is the total sales for all the states in the United States. So I'm just going to put this in dollars. All right. So I'm good to go. So right now we can commence building a map chart. But before we go ahead in building a map chart, there are some conditions you need to meet before you say you want to build a map chart. You need to meet some conditions before a map chart can be built. And one of the first conditions that you need to meet before building a map chart, you need to be connected to the internet. You need to be connected to the internet. Your computer or your system must be connected to the internet before you build a map chart. And I'll be telling you the reason shortly. The second condition you need to meet before you build a map chart, the analysis you want to carry out, the analysis you want to visualize must have a location. The analysis you want to visualize must have a location, which means on your pivot table, you must have a location somewhere in your analysis. Your analysis must be showing a location. And that is just what I just did right now. I am having the 50 states in USA, and I'm having the total sales for each of the states. So right now, this qualifies to be used as a map chart because there is a location that is being specified there. So that is the second condition you need to meet. And the third condition, now, as yesterday, when I was showing you guys the charts, I made a comment when I told you that only these first 5 charts that we did yesterday, the column, line, bar, by, and area, they are the only charts that are compatible with the pivot table, which means they are the only charts that can work with a pivot table. Every other chart cannot work with a pivot table, including this map chart that we want to start with. Including this map chart that you want to start with. Now you can see me clicking on it is telling me you can't create this chart type with data inside a pivot table. So it's basically telling that it doesn't work with a pivot table. It will not work. It is not compatible with a pivot table, which leads me to the third condition you need to meet when you want to build a map chart. You need to copy out your data from the pivot table. You need to copy out your data from the pivot table, which means I'm going to copy out all my analysis. Just going to use a shortcut for that. I'm going to copy out all my analysis with a simple Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V, and I'll just paste this on my spreadsheet. This is what I mean by copying out. Now, the data is no longer in the pivot table. The data is no longer in pivot table, which means now the map chart will be able to interact with this data since it is no longer in the pivot table. So now let me go back and see all charts, and then I select the map chart. Now you can see I'm no longer getting that caption that says it cannot work with a pivot table because I am no longer, the data that I'm using now is no longer on the pivot table. It is just on my spreadsheet. So those are the 3 conditions you need to meet to fulfill or to bring alive a map chart. Let me take them again. Number 1, you need to be connected to the internet, and your internet has to be strong. I'll be explaining this internet thing shortly. The second thing, your analysis has to have a location value. Your analysis has to have a location value because map represents geographical location. So your analysis has to contain a location value. And then lastly, copy out your data, which we've just done. Now I've copied out my data onto my spreadsheet. Now I can use my map chart. So I just select the map chart and I click on OK. And I click on OK. Now, for those of us that are just doing it for the first time, you are going to be seeing a prompt. You're going to be seeing a prompt here. Look, if you guys look closely, there is a prompt here that is saying data needed to create your map chart will be sent to Bing. Data needed to create your map chart will be sent to Bing. So what is Bing? Bing is just a search engine. It's a search engine that was developed by Microsoft. It's a search engine just like Google. But this is Microsoft's version. It is called Bing. So this is one of the reasons why you need internet, because now once, and you can see is actually there's a button there. There's a CTA button, a call to action button that is telling me to accept. So you need to accept it so that Excel can connect to Bing and generate your chart for you. This is why you need internet connection. This is why you need internet connection, and a strong one at that. So I'm just going to go ahead and accept, and then I wait for my chart, for my map to be created. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so my map has been created, and this is the map of USA. This is the map of USA you're seeing right live right there. So Microsoft Excel can basically construct any map you have, as long as any map you want, as long as you meet these three conditions I just listed out. As long as you meet these three conditions I just listed out. Now, some of you might try to create this and you're not getting the full map. Just know that the reason is that your internet is not strong enough. And sometimes it will give you a prompt. It can tell you your map is 75% created, or 25% created, or 50% created. It's letting you know that the connection to the internet is not strong enough to complete or construct the whole map. So those are the conditions. Keep them in mind. Now, I've already created my map right now, but this map is not giving me much details about my analysis, because I'm just seeing the whole map. Right now, some of us don't know where all these areas is. For example, if I should tell someone to point out where Texas is on this map, for people that have not been there, or people that have not looked at this map before, they might not know where Texas is, or Colorado, or California, and so on and so forth. So this chart is missing labels. This chart is missing labels. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to and by now we should know where to get our data labels. We'll get our data labels from the chart elements, and I taught us chart elements yesterday. So we get our data labels from the chart element, and so we click on chart element, and then we click on data labels. We click on data labels. Right now, my data labels has been created. I have activated my data labels, and you can see some areas. Now, you will see some areas not being labeled. The map chart needs a big surface area, which means it needs to be very, very big for every single label to show. But for those ones that are allowed right now, the labels are actually showing. But even for those labels that are showing, now it's just showing me the values, the total sales. I still don't know where these total sales belong to. For example, I have one that is down here where my mouse is currently is 6.5 million. Now, I don't know which state that belongs to. I don't know which state, I don't know which location has that value, because it's only that value that is showing, which means I need to include the state along with the value. And how do I do that? I simply go back to my chart element. And then go back. Sorry, let me do that again, please. I simply go back to my chart elements, go back to my data labels. I still leave it clicked on. I check the box, but right now I click on the arrow beside it, and then I go to more data label options. And then over here, now you can see the value is currently on. I leave it, the value is checked. I leave it checked, but I input the category name. And then I close this. Now, if you look at my chart, now the categories has been listed. The categories, now I know where each state belong. But like I said, the map chart requires a very large surface area because of the size. You need to expand it a whole lot so that everything will be displayed. But there's something that we can also do that will visualize the chart better, even without it showing the numbers. There's something I'm going to teach you now that will improve the visualization of this particular map chart. It's called color coding. It's called color coding, which means I am going to color code this chart according to the values. I am going to color code this chart according to the values, which means for the state that has an higher value, they are going to have a particular color. And the states that have a lower value, they are also going to have another color. So when you are looking at the map, just by the color alone, you will know the states that actually have higher values, and you will know the state that has lower values. If you remember conditional formatting, it's just using the concept of conditional formatting. And that's what I'm going to be doing right now. Remember, I'm going to color code the chart. So what do I do? So what do I do to color code my chart? To color code my chart, I simply click on anywhere on the chart. I click on any area on the chart. I just pick a state and I click on that state. I just double click. Sorry, I double click on any area on the chart. Just pick a state and double click on it. So once you've done that, you're going to have this extra functionality come up on the right. It's called format data points. But what we are actually interested in is this submenu called series color. What we are interested in is this submenu called series color. So I click on series color, I click the drop down, and then I'm having two sets of colors here for the minimum and the maximum. There is a color that is dedicated for minimum. If I just scroll to the right here, so minimum, which is represented by lowest value, and maximum, which is represented by highest value. So what I'm just going to do is for the lowest value, I apply a color to it. I just come here. So all the states that actually has a lower value, I want them to be represented by red. And then all the states that has a higher value, I want them to be represented by green. And then I choose green. And then I close this. And then I go back to my chart. Now, the chart is much more expressive now, because right now, I'm not even using numbers to look for it. I'm only interested in the states that are doing well and the states that are not doing well. And because I've color coded it, now I know that all those states that are actually in red are actually have low sales. And then the ones that are in green are the ones that are profitable. For example, Texas is a profitable state. That's why it's in green. California also on the left here. And I think Nevada somewhere to the north here. And then I have Florida to the east here. So that is how to color code the chart. So right now, I don't even know the value, but I confidently tell anybody the states that are doing poorly in terms of sales, and then the states that are doing well in terms of profits. So I'm just going to repeat this again for those of us that did not get it the first time. So I'm just going to delete it. What we are trying to build is a map chart. And I've already told you guys the conditions that are needed for building a map chart. So I'm just going to repeat the process. I go to insert. I go to insert, and then I select my map chart, and then I click on my map chart. Because I'm meeting all those conditions, my map chart comes out the way it's supposed to come. Now, this is the chart at its natural state, at its unfiltered state. We've not done anything to it, but it has generated our chart. Right now you need to work on it. You need to work on this chart. You know, just leaving the chart like this tells no story. Leaving the chart like this, there is no insight anybody can get from it. We are not in a geography class, so we are not just building map for building sake. We want the map to tell a story to whoever that is looking at the map. And then I said one of the things you need to do first, label your map. Label your map. Click on the chart element and label your map. Now, the first label is going to label is the values. Is labeling the values. Now, I said you can take it one step further and label the categories. Label the categories. Let me do that again. So I click on my data labels, like I said, my chart elements. In front of the data labels, click the arrow leading to more data label options, and then you select the category name. And then you select the category name. So in this instance, the category simply means the state. This category is missing me the state, and you can see as soon as I clicked on it, now the state has been labeled. Now we know where each location is. But like I said, because the limitation of a map chart is that it has to be very, very big to show both the category name and the values. But one thing you can do is to color code it. The colors will tell you more stories, will tell you the story behind that. So how do you do that? I say just pick anywhere, just pick on any state and double click. Just pick on any state and double click. The moment you do that, you're going to have this extra functionality by the right called format data series. But what I said you're interested in is the series color. The series color. Now you have two types of color. You have two colors to choose from, minimum and maximum. So you just apply. So for the minimum value, we chose red. You can choose any color that you feel will be good for you. And then for the highest values, we chose green. We chose green. And then we can close this. And that's it right here. And that's it right here. So if you are making a presentation regarding and you're using a map chart and then you color code, you're just going to give them a broader or a brief description. Something like, oh, this is the map of the United States, but the distribution of the states is such that those states that are actually in the dark red color are states that are not generating a huge revenue, but those states that are actually in green are the states that are doing well. And then you have the states there for you because they are already labeled. So that is how to use a map chart in Microsoft Excel. All right. So we're going to be moving on to the next chart type. We're going to be moving on to the next chart type. Now, remember I said yesterday, we're only going to be teaching you functional charts, charts that are tenable, charts that are used in the professional world. So the next chart that we're going to be moving on to is the tree map chart. The next chart that we're going to be moving on to is the tree map chart. So this is tree map here. So let me tell you a little bit about tree map. So a tree map chart uses colors and shapes. A tree map chart uses colors and shapes to represent your data. A tree map chart uses colors and shapes to represent your data. Now, let me talk about the limitation. I like talking about the limitations first before I tell you the advantage. Now, the limitation of a tree map chart, this is how it looks like. Let me just preview before I bring it out. Or let me just bring it out. Let me bring it out. Please give me a minute. My Excel is hanging. It's not supposed to be like this. My Excel is responding. But while my Excel is responding, let me go ahead and tell you the limitations of a tree map. Please, am I still audible? My Excel just was closed. Am I still audible? If you can hear me, please let me know. I'll bring back the Excel. Or am I still audible? All right. So let me bring back my Excel. Okay. Now it's back. Let's continue. All right. So this is a tree map, just like I said. So I wanted to talk about the limitations of a tree map. Now, the limitation of a tree map is that because it uses colors, when you are having huge data like the one that we are using now, right now we have 50 data points. We have 50 data points, which is representing the 50 states in the United States of America. And those 50 states are showing right now in this tree map. Now, because the data points are many, they are 50 in number, and because the tree map uses colors to differentiate between data points, there will be repetition of colors. There will be repetition of colors. The limitation here is similar to the limitation of that of a pie chart. There will be repetition of colors, and that is what you are seeing on your screen. Now, if I'm talking about Oregon, which is a state here, and I'm saying, oh, Oregon, which is the state in blue, there are so many states that are in blue, and then it's going to lead to confusion because someone might be looking at something different. Someone might be looking at Nevada and he will ask you, oh, are you talking about Nevada? Nevada is also in blue. So this is a major limitation of a tree map chart. So if you want to use a tree map chart, you limit your information or you limit your data points. You don't make them as many as this one that we just did right now. We have 50 data points. That is why you have so many colors that are repeating itself. So if you want to use the tree map, you limit your data points. Now, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to reduce this. I'm just going to reduce. But before I do that, let me sort. So I'm having the highest states. Let me quickly do a sort. All right. So I've sorted this from the largest to smallest. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to get rid of some. So I'm just left with 5. I'm left with 5 data points there. I'm left with 5 data points there. So I'm just going to go ahead and build my tree map from these ones that I have now. And then you will see a marked difference. And please note, this chart that we are using is not compatible with a pivot table. That is why we have it outside the pivot table. So let's go ahead and choose the tree map. Let's go ahead and choose the tree map. And then I click on OK. Now you can see, number one, my values are very, very small, which means the colors, there is a little chance or a little probability of the colors repeating itself. Now we have 5 distinct colors. If I had used maybe 10 data points, there is no way I'll not be having recurring colors. So if you want to use a tree map in your analysis, this tree map is good for using, but maybe you are asked to show the top 5 of something. Maybe here we are asked to calculate the top 5 states that has the highest total sales. The tree map is good to use for something like that because the data points are not much. It's just 5. And then which will lead to colors not clashing. Now, even though we have 2 colors that are related to blue, at least one is darker than the other. You can give this another name. For those of us that are good with colors, maybe cyan or whatever blue. So you can see different kinds of colors here. And this is very, very good. This is what you need to do when you are using a tree map chart. So another thing you need to take note of is that now look at the tree map. Each of the data points are represented by rectangles. Each of the data points are represented by rectangles, but the rectangles differ in shape. The rectangles differ in size, rather. Don't let me show. It's not shape. It's the same shape. The rectangles differ in size. They are different sizes for each of the data points. And the sizes mirror the values you have, which means the bigger your value, the bigger your rectangle, and the lower your value, the smaller your rectangle. For example, New York is the state with the highest, New York is the state with the highest total sales number there. And you can see the rectangle for New York is bigger than every other thing. Followed by California, they are similar, they are a bit similar, but if you look closer, or if I just change the shape of my chart, come in. Now, they look quite a bit similar because if you look at the values are not that far from each other. New York has 8.6 million, while California has 8.4 million. So the values are not, that's why they look. But if you look closely, if I make this a bit bigger, one of them, which is New York, will be a little bit bigger than California. But if you take a look at Florida, the rectangle representing Florida, there is a large difference between Florida and the first 2, which makes the rectangle much smaller to the previous 2. And then look at South Carolina. South Carolina is way smaller. The gap there is bigger. There's a big gap. There's a disparity there in terms of total sales compared to that of New York or California or even Florida. That is why you have that rectangle in a very smaller shape. So the tree map represents your data using sizes of rectangles and colors. And I've already told us the limitation earlier. So if you look now, the last thing I have to talk about the tree map is the data labels. Now, if you look at the labeling on each data point or on each rectangle, it is the name of the states that are there. The name of the state that are there, the category name. But I'm also interested in the values. I'm also interested in the values. Now, to bring that out, I simply go to chart elements, data labels, and I go to more data label options. And then I just bring about the value. And then I close. Now, can you see the value has been added to each of the value has been added to each of the rectangle there. Now we are seeing the value for each and every one of them. New York 8.6 and so on and so forth. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how to use a tree map. So I'm just going to be deleting it and going to the next charts that we have on our list here. So the next chart that we're going to be talking about is the sunburst. Is a sunburst chart. The next chart that we're going to be talking about here is the sunburst chart. But before I teach this sunburst, I'm going to go back to pie chart. There was something I missed in pie chart yesterday. So in the pie chart, I talked about this first one here, which is the pie chart. Now, there are different kind of pie chart as you can see listed here, but the most acceptable one apart from this first one is this last one here. It is called a donut chart. It is called a donut chart. So I'm just simply going to click OK and show you how a donut chart looks like. It's the same thing as a pie chart, but it's just that this one is more rounded. So and then I click OK. Now this is how a donut chart looks like. But please keep in mind, all the limitations I talked about a pie chart yesterday also applies to the donut chart. The limitations I talked about yesterday also applies to the donut chart. And the advantage also applies. The advantage being that you can change your data labels to percentages. Because there's a percentage value here and then I remove my value. So the only thing is it is more well-rounded than the traditional pie chart, which looks like this. So you can see it's still the same concept that applies. All right. So now let me go ahead to the next one we are talking about, the sunburst. I wanted to do that because there's a similarity between the sunburst and the donut chart. There's a similarity between the sunburst and the pie chart, and I'm going to be taking it right now. So this is the sunburst. So let me just click on OK, and then you'll see how it looks like. So this is the sunburst chart. Now you can see it has a huge similarity with the donut chart that I just showed you about. But there's one major difference. So now let me first of all bring out my data labels. Now, the major difference between a sunburst and a pie chart or a donut chart is that for pie chart and donut chart, you can convert your values to percentages, just like I showed us. You can convert your values to percentages, but for a sunburst, you can't. Now, if I go to my data labels and show more data label options, now you can see under the data label options, I only have value. I don't have percentages. There is no percentages. I only have values. So this is one of the major difference that you have. All right. So this is the difference between the sunburst and the pie chart. They look similar rather, but that is the major difference. You cannot convert your values to percentages here. You only have them as values. All right. So now let us continue with the next chart type that we have on our list here. We are going to be talking about the waterfall chart. The waterfall chart. So before I talk about the waterfall chart, let me just bring it out and see how it looks like. I'll be changing some values, but let me tell you what the waterfall chart is mainly used for. The waterfall chart is mainly used to visualize increase and decreases in numbers. The waterfall chart is mainly used to visualize increase and decrease in numbers. So to do that, let me just delete this. Let me get my numbers ready. So I'll just be giving some of these values a negative value. I'll be giving them a negative value. I'll be giving them a negative value. And in Excel, if you see, let me just make this bigger. In Excel, if you see numbers which are put in brackets, if you see numbers which are put in brackets, it is a negative number. I put a negative sign here. That is why Excel is putting it in brackets. So if you are saying that, it simply means that number is what? Negative. So I'm purposely doing this. I'm purposely manipulating this because I want to show you how that particular chart, the waterfall chart, represents a decrease and an increase in number. So let me do you one more for this. All right. Now let us go ahead to generate that map. Let us go ahead to generate that map, which is a waterfall, and then I click on OK. Now, this is the waterfall chart, and this is how it looks like. Now, if you pay attention, let us first of all take a look at the legend. Let us first of all take a look at the legend. Now, the legend we have is just an increase and decrease, and the total increase and decrease. It doesn't show the states as legends the way other charts will be showing you. It just shows you that you can only have two values. This chart is just visualizing two things. It's showing you where there's an increase and where there's a decrease. And if you look at the numbers that I put in negative, for example, New York. Now look at where the data label for New York is. It's put underneath the column there, which means that column is actually pointing down. It's facing down. And then if you look at the one that is appreciating California, California is positive. And if you look at the data value here, the data value is actually up. This is how you, apart from you using the legends, this is how you also denote which value is actually appreciating or depreciating by the positioning of the data labels. Look at Florida. It is a negative number. The data label is actually down. It's pointing down. And then Texas, you have it is a positive number, and the number is actually shooting up. So this particular chart is very, very good for portraying a profit and loss analysis. When you have a data set that you have some numbers in profit and some numbers that are actually not doing well, that are loss numbers, you can use this chart to mirror them. You can use this chart to visualize them, and then it's going to show you how they look like. So this is a waterfall chart, ladies and gentlemen. So I believe you understand what it is used for and how it's going to look. So let me just, so right now we are moving on to the next chart in the class. So moving on to the next chart, I want to remove my negative signs so that it will reflect in the next chart. I don't need them in the next chart. All right. So the next chart we're going to be working with right now, the next chart that we're going to be working with right now is the funnel chart. The funnel chart. So right now, the funnel chart is always in the shape of a funnel. The funnel chart is in the shape of a funnel. And what it simply does is that it shows it as an hierarchical order. It shows it as stages in process. It highlights your value, your data set or your analysis. It shows it as stages. And then let me just click OK so that you understand. Now, this is a funnel chart. Now you can see a funnel chart is represented by bars, and it is funneling down. You can see the size of those bars, the size of those horizontal bars keep reducing, which mirrors the shape of a funnel. It keeps reducing, and it is based on the value of each of those data points. For example, you can see New York. The New York bar is very, very full from end to end. But California, you can see it has reduced a bit, and then Florida, and then it keeps on reducing until you get to the last one. So it mirrors a funnel. It mirrors a funnel. Now, this particular chart is funneling down. It's showing that it is funneling down, and that is as a result of the values that each data point have. So the funnel chart is also a very, very good chart to use to visualize your data. Now, this one doesn't have it doesn't have that big of a limitation. So now let us use it with let us create a data point. I'm just going to copy this back out. I want to show us how it's going to look like when you have many data points. So let me copy this out. And then let's go back to the funnel chart and see how it's going to look like when we have many data points. So funnel. Okay. So you can see just like, so let me sort this. Let me sort this. All right. So the moment I sorted it, the thing took on another shape. But because of the many data points we have, now this particular chart, if you leave it like this, it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to make sense of it. It's going to make it very, very difficult for anybody to make sense of it because of the huge data set. So it is always good to just leave it as few as possible. Just leave it as few as possible so that it can make meaning. What I was saying yesterday, I'm just going to reiterate it. When you are building your charts, you are not building charts for just you alone. The chart, as a data analyst, when you are visualizing your data set, it is not for you to enjoy what you are doing. It is not for you to understand, for only you to understand. You are building it for your stakeholders. You are building it for your stakeholders, or for your boss, or for your company, or for whoever that has interest in the data, so they understand. So you need to do something that they will understand. Because like I said, you might where your charts are being read, or where your analysis is being presented, you might not actually be in the room to present it. Someone else might actually be doing might be presenting your analysis. So you need to make it very easy to understand for everybody, including laymen. Not everybody understands how charts are created, but you need to make it so simple and straightforward so that whoever is seeing it understands it at the first glance. And this funnel chart is very, very good the way it is right now. All right. So we're going to be moving on to the next chart on our list there. So the next chart we have there is called the combo chart. Coming. The next chart we have there is called the combo chart. It's called the combo chart. Now, the combo chart also has a limitation. The combo chart also has a limitation. Now, combo chart simply means combination of charts. And what this chart simply means that it is going to be in just one chart, you are going to have two charts, which means a two-in-one chart. That's what the combo chart means. A two-in-one chart. You're going to be combining two charts in just one chart. But for you to do that, you need to have two values. You need to have two values, just like we did yesterday. Right now, this analysis that we are seeing, the total sales for the states in the United States, it is just one value. It is just one value. So right now, I'm just going to add another value to it. I'm going to add possibly the operating profit. The operating profit. So right now, I have two values for this analysis. I have total sales and I have operating profit. So I'm just going to filter. Let me filter. I just want to get the top 5. Just want to get the top 5 states. Now, these are the top 5 states in terms of sales and profit. Now, let me use a combo chart. Now, one thing I want to talk about the combo chart right now is that the combo chart also works with your pivot table. So it's not 5 charts that work with your pivot table, it's 6. Combo chart is the 6th chart that works directly with the pivot table. Now you can see that I don't have to copy out my data. I don't have to copy my data out of the pivot table, just like I did it for funnel charts, sunburst and map chart and the rest. This can remain in the pivot table because the combo chart actually works with it. So I go to the combo chart. Now you can see in the combo chart, this is the preview. Now just take a look at it. This is two charts in one. This is how it's going to be showing. So the two charts I have is I have a column chart and I have a line chart. I have a column chart and then I have a line chart. Now the legend is going to tell me what each chart represents. Now the legend which is showing me blue means the blue is talking about the total sales, which means the column chart represents the total sales. The column chart represents the total sales. And then the orange one here, which is the line chart represents operating profit. The line chart represents operating profit. So if I should click on OK, now you can see two different types of charts in just one chart, the column chart and the line chart, but both are representing the two different values we have. So for example, if you just want to represent these two information on one chart, the combo chart is good to go. And you can do it on different charts also, which means you can get an analysis to show total sales for the states, which is on one analysis. You use a different chart, and you can show total sales, total profit for the states, which will be on another analysis on a different chart. Now that's two different charts. Or you can use a combo chart, which will show both information on just one chart. So let me go back to that combo chart. There's one more thing I'd like to show us. There's one more thing I'd like to show us on the combo chart. So when you're in your combo chart, you can also choose the kind of chart you want. Now, like I said, we all understand that we are showing two charts as one. Now, even those two charts, I can choose to get the kind of chart I want. For example, the two charts we are showing right now is the clustered column and line with markers. I can come here and change this clustered column to another kind of chart. Possibly, maybe I want it as a bar chart. Now you can see that it has changed now. So instead of it being a clustered column, it is now a clustered bar with line. And then I click on OK. All right. So that's what I mean. So now let me go back there. Let me choose another kind of chart. Now, let me choose a line chart also. If I choose a line chart for the first one, I'm just going to be having two lines. I'm going to be having two lines. So that is the advantage of using the combo chart. You can have two charts to represent your two values, and they are all on the same chart. So that's just like a two-in-one chart that you can actually use. And then your data, your data labels. Now, if you're using data labels here, you can see because of the two charts that are there, the data labels are actually clashing. So in charts like this, I would not necessarily use a data label. And that is what I talked about data label yesterday. I said it is not compulsory, but it could be necessary in some charts. So right here, I don't see the necessity of it because of it clashing, because of the multiple charts that we have on there. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of charts in Excel. We've been able to talk about some of those charts and their functionalities, how to use them, and when is the possible time to actually use them. So before I continue the next phase of the class, I'd just like to tell us the assignments that we are going to be getting at the end of the class. So you see that data set that you're looking at, the Adidas data set. Now, you guys are going to go ahead and analyze that data set. At the end of the class, I'll be dropping the insights that you're going to use the insight that you have to get from that data set. At the end of the class, I'm going to be dropping the insights that you are going to get from that Adidas data set. So you will do the analysis based on those insights using your pivot table, and then you build charts for each analysis that you've done. So please, mind you, you can use any of the charts that we've taught in this class, but please apply your chart elements. The ones that I told you about that I said were compulsory, let them be on your chart. The one that I said that are not needed, please do away with them on your chart And the ones that I said they improve your chart because of their necessity, you can also use them. So you already have your assignments, and that is what you are seeing on your screen. The only thing that is left for me is just to get you the insights you'll be working with, and then you build a chart for every single analysis you are able to come up with. Now, the next phase of the class, we are going to be moving to dashboard building. Dashboard building, how to build a dashboard. Now, what is a dashboard? Or how does a dashboard look like? I'm going to bring one out for you. But what is a dashboard? A dashboard is simply a collection of your charts. A dashboard is simply a collection of charts, which means now if you look at this analysis, let me open this data set coming. Please hold on. Hold on, please. Let me get I want to open a data set and show you what a dashboard is. Now, this is similar to what you are seeing on your screen, the Adidas data set, but this particular data set has already been worked on. This particular data set has already been worked on, it has already been analyzed, and we're having different analyses showing right here on the screen. Now you can see each of the charts are on individual pages. Each of the charts are on individual pages. Now, a dashboard is supposed to harmonize all these charts, bring all these charts into one place so that you can show your stakeholders the whole analysis at a go. Now, if I did not build a dashboard and I send this to a stakeholder, they need to be checking each page. They need to be checking each sheet rather to get the analysis. But imagine I send them something like this. Imagine I send them something like this. Now, this is a dashboard. Now, this is the chart. This is the analysis of that data set that you are looking at a glance. So a stakeholder that I'm sending this already has all the information at one glance. You don't need to be going to the individual sheets to check them. And this is the dashboard. And ladies and gentlemen, this is our next port of call. This is what we are going to be learning to design in the class. So after you have designed your charts, this is where you bring them in. You visualize them as a dashboard so that you collect all the charts as one, and then whoever needs to show the analysis is looking at them at a glance. All right. So I'll be teaching us how to actually do this. But please note, your assignment is not to build a dashboard because you've not learned it yet. Your assignment is to build charts, because that one we've been working on it yesterday and we've completed that today. So I believe everybody should be able to build one chart or the other. All right. So now, let me bring that back again. There's something I want to show us, and there's a question I want to ask about that. Let me bring back the dashboard. Let me bring back the dashboard. All right, so everybody should take a good look at this. Everybody should take a good look at this. Let me just make it a bit bigger. Now, this dashboard was actually built in Excel. Now, you can see I'm still in Excel. I didn't go anywhere. This dashboard was built in Excel. All the tools you need to do this are in Excel. You don't need to go anywhere or copy anything from anywhere. They are in Excel. Now, if you guys take a good look at this, this dashboard was basically built using a major shape. This dashboard was built basically using just one shape. Who can tell me the dominant shape in this dashboard? In this dashboard you are looking at, there's a dominant shape in this dashboard. Who can tell me the shape that was used in building this dashboard? You can drop your answer online or in the chat section rather. Let me go to my side chat section. I've had some comments coming. Yeah, rectangles. Thank you very much. Rectangles. It's not a square. It's a rectangle. Now, rectangle is the dominant shape that was used in building this dashboard. Now, which will take me to the next port of call, which will take me to the next thing we are going to be doing in this class. We are going to be talking about shapes. We're going to be talking about shapes because right now we've all agreed that it was a shape that was used to build our dashboard. So I need to teach you how to build, how to use shapes in Microsoft Excel before we even go ahead and build, before we go ahead and build the dashboard itself. Before we go ahead and build the dashboard itself. So our next topic right now is shapes in Microsoft Excel. Shapes in Microsoft Excel. So let me just open a sheet there. So where do we get shapes in Excel? Where do you get shapes in Excel? You go to Insert. Insert is where the font is. You go to Insert, and then you're going to see the function here, the shape function here. And then you click on it. Now, once you click on it, it reveals all the shapes that you can build in Microsoft Excel. You can see these are different kind of shapes. The rectangle that you guys saw on that particular dashboard, this is it right here. There are other shapes. There's a line, there's an arrow, there's a rectangle, there's a circle, there's a square, there's a rectangle. There are block arrows. And then when you come to this one, and you can see there are different kind of categories. There are lines, different kind of lines. There are rectangles, different kind of rectangles. There are basic shapes, different kind of shapes. There are arrows, equation shapes, flow charts, stars and banners, callouts, and so on and so forth. So for you to build a shape, all you just need to do is to select the shape. All you just need to do is to select the shape. So for example, I want to build this shape. I've selected it, and I'll just click and drag. Now, I'm going to click and drag according to the size I want to build. If I'm building a very, very large, I think it's a cylinder. If I want it to be very, very big, so I drag to make it big. So once I get my desired size, I stop dragging. Let me go back there. Insert. Shapes. You pick any shape you want. You pick any shape you want, and then you draw it to your desired size. You draw it to your desired by clicking and dragging. If I want something this size, I just leave it be like this, and then I stop dragging. And then that is how to insert a shape. You select, you click and drag to get your desired shape, and then you leave it there. Now that we've gotten our shapes, how do we move the shapes from one end to another? How do we move the shapes from one end to another? Now, if I want to move this cylinder, I simply click. Now, the moment you click on your rectangle, or your shape rather, you will know. Now, look at all these edges. My mouse is currently on one. All these white little circles that surround your shape, they are called nodes. They are called nodes. So when you select a shape, they are surrounded by these nodes. And I'll be telling you the function of these nodes once shortly. So when you click on these and then you see that the nodes are surrounded, it will let you know that you selected your rectangle. So to move, just click and drag and move to your desired point. Just click and drag and move to your desired point. So this is where I want it, and then I drop it there. That is how to move your shape. So now, how do you size your shape, or how do you resize? How do you resize your shape? Resize simply means changing the size of your rectangles. Now, this of your shapes right there. Now, I want to resize this cylinder. I want to resize this cylinder. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to put my cursor on any of the nodes. I'm going to put my cursor on any of the nodes. Now, mind you, whatever node you choose, you will only be able to resize in that direction. Whatever node you choose, you will only be able to resize that shape in that direction. Now, I chose the node at the top left. Now, whatever resizing I'm going to be doing is going to be coming from the top left. It's going to be coming from the top left. So I can resize it to this place, or you can see I can only resize based on that direction because that is the node I chose. So if I choose a node that is at the top center, and then I resize, I decide to resize. Now you can see I can only follow that direction. I can only follow that direction. So whatever node you are choosing, you will only be able to resize it based on that direction. Now you can see this one, I can only take it in and take it out. So you need to know how to resize. So resizing is done based on the nodes, on whatever nodes that you select, on whatever node that you select. So that is how to resize shapes. Now, the next thing I'm going to be teaching us about shapes is how to color shapes, how to give them a color. How do you color your shape? Now, there are two ways you can color a shape. There are two ways you can color a shape. You can either give the inside of your shape, the inside of your shape. You can either give the inside of your shape, or you give the line of your shape a color, which means you can color the inside. Right now, the default color here is blue. You can color the inside, and you can also color the line. You guys should take a look. Let me remove the cursor. You guys should take a look at the line of this rectangle. Please, who can tell me the color of the line? Who can tell me the color of the line or the outline of this cylinder? I keep calling it the rectangle. Who can tell me the color? No, the color is not blue. The inside of the cylinder is blue. Yes, Martins, the color is black. The color is black, which means this cylinder has two different colors, one for inside and one for the line. Now, those are the two ways you can color your shape. Now, let me show you how to do that. First of all, you need to be clicked on it. You need to select it, which means you need to click it. Now, the moment you select a shape, you are going to get an extra functionality here. Please take a look at the menu bar. Take a look at the menu bar called Shape Format. And this Shape Format menu will only come out when you are clicked on a shape. Right now, I'm going to click out of the shape now. I'm going to deselect the shape. Right now, you can see I'm no longer clicked on the shape. The shape menu is no longer there, or the shape format menu is no longer there, because I am not working with a shape anymore. I am just clicked on my Excel spreadsheet. But the moment I click on the shape, that menu comes out, that menu comes out called Shape Format. So for me to change the color, I just come to Shape Format. I click on Shape Format. Now the ribbon for Shape Format comes out. Now to give the inside the color, this is where that is done. Shape Fill. Shape Fill is used to color the inside of your shape. Shape Fill is used to color the inside of your shape. So if I want to give this particular shape a color now, I click on the drop down there, and then I have access to different colors. I'll have access to different colors, and then I choose the color I want. Now you can see it has been colored. The inside has been colored. But if you look closely at the line remains the same. Let me make this a bit bigger. If you look at the line, now the line is still black in color. The line is still black in color. Now, for me to now change the line, I go to the next one that follows, which is called Shape Outline. So guys, please don't let us mix this up. To color the inside, use the Shape Fill to give the inside a color. To color the line, you use Shape Outline. So Shape Outline only deals with line. Shape Fill deals with the inside. So now I can change the color now. So let me give it a color. Let me give it a green color. Now, ladies and gentlemen, can you see our shape? Yellow for the inside, green for the outline. And that is where you do it. Let me take it again. Shape Fill for the inside. Shape Fill for the inside. And then Shape Outline for what? For the line. And then you have that. So that is how to give colors to your shapes. Now, the last thing we're going to be talking about a shape in this class is how to write on your shape. How do you write on your shape? If you guys took a good look at the dashboard there, those rectangles you guys saw, they had written words. There were some words written on them. So how do you write on a shape? So let me bring out a rectangle shape. Now this shape is out. Now I want to write on it. Now in Excel, there are two ways of writing on a shape. There are two ways of writing on a shape, but I'll tell you the best one to use. But there are two ways. Now the first one, if you want to write on a shape, simply double click on that shape. I said if you want to write on a shape, simply double click on that shape. So the moment you double click on that shape, you're going to have a cursor. Now you can see there's a cursor. And anywhere you cursor, it means anywhere there's a cursor, it means you can write. Now I'm writing right now. This is a data analysis class. So you can do what you're able to do. You can select it and make it bigger, make it bold. You can do everything you can do to a text, you can do to it. So this is the first way of writing a text. The second way and most preferred way of writing a text is by using what we call a text box. Is by using what we call a text box. And what makes a text box more preferred is because a text box is more flexible. With a text box, I can decide to write anywhere on my shape. Now, this first method I showed you, you can only write at the top. You can only write where the cursor is. You can only write where the cursor is. And the cursor is always placed at the top here. If you want to get your, you can just press enter and write your text. And write your text again. But with this other method I want to show you, I can decide, I don't need to press enter. I can just place my text box anywhere I want. And where do I get the text box? I go to insert. I go back to insert and I come way down here towards the end here. If you see where my mouse is hovering, look at where my mouse is hovering. That is the text box. And then I click on it. I click on the text box. Let me do that again. I click on text box. Hold on, please. Let me get rid of this. All right. So I go to the text box. So once I click on the text box, I will have the text box just like the name implies. It is a box where you can write a text. That's just what it means. The text box is a box where you can write a text. So what I just have to do is I have to first of all create that box. I draw the box. Once I draw the box, I draw the size of what I want to write. And then now I can now write. This is a data analysis class. So like I said, the advantage of using a text box is that I can move my text anywhere. So right now, because it's a box, now I can decide to move it. Now, can you see? I am moving my text box anywhere. This cannot be done with that first method I told you. But because this text box is also a shape on its own, I can decide to move it anywhere. So I want to drop it somewhere here. But there's something about this text box. Now you can see when I drew that text box, it created its own background. Now it's like it's creating a blight or a blip on that initial blue rectangle. I don't want this text box to have a white background because I don't want anything white on that background. I only want the text. So now after you have drawn your text box, you need to remove this white background. So how do I do that? Click on your text box. Remember I said your text box is also a shape. So you will get the shape format menu. Click on the shape format. Come to shape fill here. Remember we want to remove the white background. Come to shape fill here. And then here you click on no fill. Here you click on no fill. No fill. Now you can see the background has gone. But that particular text box still has a border. It has a line surrounding it, which means I need to remove the line also. I have removed the background. I need to remove the line. So I click on it again. I click on the text box again. And then now this time around, I go to shape outline. Remember I said anything that has to do with line, you come to shape outline to fix that. I come to shape outline and then I select no outline. Now my text is good to go and I can just move it, sorry. I can move my text anywhere. I can move my text anywhere. That is the advantage of using a what? A text box. That is the advantage of using a text box. So now, the next thing I have to teach you right now is how to actually group items together, group shapes together. Now, look at this particular rectangle that I drew, and this text box that is also on it. They are different shapes. You all will agree with me that they are different shapes because we created them differently. Now, if I should move one particular shape, for example, I move my rectangle, now you can see the text box is staying alone. Or I move the text box. You can see it's not moving with rectangle. The rectangle stays alone. So I want to teach you how to group these two items together, these two shapes together, so that you can move them as one. So that you can move them. When you group them, they become one. They are no longer separate shapes. So when you group them, they become one item, and then you can move both of them together. So we call that functionality, or we call that function grouping or group. We call it group. And how do you group? It's very, very simple. You need to select the two shapes. How do you group? You need to select the two shapes. So how do you do that? Now, this is the first shape, rectangle. I click on it. This is the first rectangle. I click on it. Now, to click on the second shape, you press Shift. You press the Shift button. We all know where the Shift button is. Before you select the second shape, let me start from the beginning. I want to select the two shapes. The first thing I do, I select the first shape. Now you can see I've selected rectangle. For me to select the second shape, I press Shift first. And then I go ahead and select the second shape by clicking on it. If you don't press that Shift, you will not be able to select the two. You will just be jumping from one to the other. You'll be selecting one, select the second one. But for you to select both at the same time, you select the first one, then press Shift, and then you select the second one. Now you can see both have been selected. So once you've done that, right click on the shape, and then you see group here. You see group here, and then you now follow the button and press group. Now they've been grouped together. Now let me try to move it. Now you can see. I'm moving. It is now one shape right now, not two shapes. It's now one shape, not two shapes. Please let me take that again one more time. I said if you want now, you can see it's no longer grouped. I just undo whatever I did. Now you can see they are separate. They are separate shapes. And I said if you want to group them together, select the first one. Now I've selected the text box first. Click on Shift and click the second shape. Now both of them are selected. Right click, and then click on group. Now once you've done that, both have been grouped together as one item. Now, someone is asking me a question. Martins, this is a very good question. Someone is asking me, there's a case where, because when you right click, there's a case of when you right click, she said, what do you understand? Okay, before I go there, now that we have grouped, you should be able to ungroup. What if I want them ungrouped? I don't want them as the same item anymore. I don't want them as the same item anymore. I can just ungroup, right click, go back to that group, and then ungroup. Now I have ungrouped. You can see it is no longer the same group anymore. It is no longer the same group anymore. So that is how to group items. So the question Martins was asking. Now, for example, let me duplicate this and give this a different color. Now you can see I have two rectangles, one blue and one yellow. I have two rectangles, one blue and one yellow. Now one is at the front, the yellow is at the front, and the blue is at the front. But what if I want the blue to come to the front? What if I want the blue rectangle to actually be in the front? I need to bring it to the front. I need to bring it to the front. So is either I bring the blue rectangle to the front, is either I bring the blue rectangle to the front, or I send the yellow rectangle to the back. Is either I bring the blue rectangle to the front, or I send the yellow rectangle to the back. So now let us first of all bring to the front. I click on the blue rectangle because I'm bringing it to the front, and then I right click. And then I see this option, bring to front, and then I click on it. Now you can see the blue rectangle is now at the front. The blue rectangle is now at the front. That is one way of doing that. I have brought the rectangle to the front. Now I just went back. I just undid. Now, using the back option, now I want to send the yellow rectangle to the back, which will also bring the blue rectangle. I told you there are two ways. Is either you choose this one that is coming to the front and you bring it to the front, or you choose this one that is at the front already and you send it to the back. So now I want to send the yellow rectangle to the back. I right click and then I simply send to the back. Now can you see? It is the same result you are going to get. It is the same result you are going to get. So ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the shape functions in the class in today's class. So in next class, we are going to be moving on straight to building a dashboard using shapes. That's why I took my time to explain these shapes to you. Now we know how to draw a shape, we know how to move a shape, we know how to resize a shape, we know how to color a shape, both the inside, both the outside. We know how to write on shapes, and now we know how to group and how to move to the back and move forward. So this information or this knowledge is going to come into play. It's going to be very, very important next week when we are drawing or when we are building our dashboard. And remember, I define a dashboard as simply the collection of your charts, where all your charts are harmonized and shown as one, as shown at a glance. So next week, that is where we are going to start the class from, building a dashboard. So I have a few minutes to end the class. I would like to take just some few questions. I'd like to take some few questions relating to tonight's class. If there's something you didn't understand or you would like me to go over again, kindly indicate now so I can see if I can explain myself. So someone asked me to repeat the moving back and front. All right, let me do that. So right now, let's take a look. Right now, there's a rectangle that is in front, which is blue. I want to send it back. There's a blue rectangle in front, which I want to send to the back. I want to bring yellow to the forefront. I can do it in two ways. Is either I send the blue to the back or I bring yellow to the front. Is either I send the blue to the back or I bring the yellow to the front. And how do I send blue to the black? I click on blue and I right click. I click on blue and I right click. And then I come to this function that says send to back. Send to back. Can you see? Now it has sent to the back. It has sent to the back. Now let us try the second one. Right now, I want to. Now I have used this blue, I have sent to the back. Now let me bring to the front. Let me use the other option. Now what is coming to the front? The orange, the yellow rather. So I click on the yellow, right click, and this time around, right click, and this time around, I am bringing to front. Now can you see? It's very, very simple. It is very, very simple. Now someone is asking me where I got the text box. You didn't see my cursor there. All right, please look at my cursor now. You go to insert. Insert. This is it right here. Look at where my cursor is dancing. Please confirm to me that you can see it. The person that asked that question, Chantel. Can you see where text box is right now? This is where text box is. So you click on it and then you draw your text box as you want. This is it. Please pay attention. This is, you can look for my mouse. Look for my mouse. This is where the text box is. So you just simply click on the text box and then you draw whatever you want to draw. All right, you've seen it. All right. So power, that is the same thing I showed now, right now, how to write on a text box. How to write on a text box. When you click on it, just draw your text box. Do you understand? And then you write. And I've taught us how to remove backgrounds. I've taught us how to remove background. I said, click on your text box, go to shape format, go to shape format, shape fill, and then no fill. And then you also remove the outline too, no outline. Now, someone is asking me, can we write diagonally or vertically? Yes, we can. By next class, I'm going to show you how to do that. In the next class, I'm going to show you how to write diagonally or horizontally, diagonally or vertically in text box. Yes, you can. It's possible. So we're going to do that in the next class. All right. Thank you very much. So in the absence of further questions, I would like to bring this week's class to a close. Now, we've been able to learn a whole lot of things this week. Starting from yesterday, we learned about the charts in Excel, and then we completed that today. And then we also learned about how to manipulate shapes in Microsoft Excel, which will help us to build our dashboard next week. So as I said, you already have your assignment for the week. Now, this is how it's going to work. I'm just going to be dropping a PDF file that has the insights for your assignment. I'm going to be dropping the PDF file that has the insights that you're going to analyze for that particular data set. And I'm also going to be dropping the submission instructions. Under the submission instructions, I'm going to write the deadline, the date for the deadline, and also the link that you're going to use to submit the assignment. Let me come again. The submission details will carry the deadline date and also the link. Please note, I want everybody to understand now. Once the deadline date has been passed, there is not going to be an extension for submission. There is not going to be an extension for submission. The deadline will be put on Thursday, so you have enough time to complete that assignment. So please, if you don't submit before deadline, even if you message me, I am not going to respond. That is why I'm letting everybody know now. We are not going to extend the deadline for submission. All right. So thank you once again to everyone that has joined the class. It's been a pleasure teaching you. My name remains Babajide, and I hope to see you guys next week. Have a lovely weekend and good night.